Now everything should be up to date. Alright, hey guys, this is Lost Worm, and you might be watching The Worm's Turn. I'm currently playing Tyranny. We should close this window. Okay. I'm going to be trying to do impressions of Verse, even though I'm going to do a horrible job of it, because I have a lot of dialogue to do with her still. Last time I quit. I think I still have a lot. Unpause. How do I talk to her again? How do I talk to her? Right click? What do these do? Okay. Stealth. Oh wait, maybe I click on our portrait? Weapon sets, quick items, combo abilities, talent. Oh, there. Right there. Right there.
Fatefinder. Always a pleasure.
Verse sizes you up with open curiosity. When her assessment is done, she laughs to herself, shaking her head.
What do you need?
I have thoughts about your combat abilities.
Do you now? Call me intrigued. You already know that I memorized the moves of my Scarlet Fury sisters. If it seems like a total mystery to me, I don't know how you could have arrived at any conclusions, but I'm open to ideas.
Did you take their fighting moves, or the memory of their fighting moves? Remind you of anyone?
If you want to split hairs over it, you could argue that I took their instincts, their reactions, but I failed to see... Wait. Are you trying to compare me to the voices of Narat?
Verse glares. The one and only.
The voices of Narat is a monster. We both know that Taratus has never seen a creature more despicable than him. Never mind that he's kind of my boss.
Absorbs the minds? Through powers you can't begin to understand, the voices of Narat steals the minds and knowledge of his victims. You know this happened often during the campaign against the Tears. What he gains from this ability, beyond his apparent madness, is anyone's guess. You know better than to ask him about it directly. I'm not comparing you to the voices, only this talent you exhibit.
My little talent that latches onto my friends and bleeds them dry, you mean? Because I never asked for it. I've traveled with the chorus for years. I've seen what the voices can do, and it scares me, all right? The idea that everything I am could be reduced to that. If I had that kind of power, if I could become like him, I don't know how I could live with myself. I'd rather drown myself in a camp latrine.
You don't have to become like him, just be selective.
I'm sure he had the same idea when he got started. But you know what they say about power? It's usually wielded by assholes. My sisters died. Oh, you should have seen us. We were amazing together. I didn't mean to take away what made them special, but I did it all the same. And let me tell you, it felt terrible.
You mean between this and Pillars of Eternity 2?
If I lived a century, I might never figure out how to make that happen again. And more importantly, I don't want to.
Not sure in which way you mean it, but the voice acting in Pillars of Eternity 2 was done by a small cast, and originally the game wasn't supposed to be fully voice acted, but they decided to get... Who did they get? They got the Critical Role crew to voice act like every line of dialogue in the game, basically, except for some of the narrator dialogues. And it was over a very short time frame, so it was kind of rushed. And I feel like some of the audio quality in Pillars of Eternity 2 is kind of a little tinny sounding. You think Pillars of Eternity 2 is much better so far? Okay. Sounded to me like this had I don't know, at least she had some emotion in her lines, for some of them anyway. Your thoughts? What are your thoughts on the disfavored? A warren of self-entitled children so wound up in delusions of honor they're likely to hang themselves by their own high standards. I wish they had starved in the Northern Empire where they belonged. Then we could get some real work done in the Tears. The endings feel flat? What endings? What do you think of their leader, Graven Ash? I've seen enough of that high-minded braggart to know that he's all duty, nothing but a charismatic, broad-shouldered scarecrow. He calls himself the Archon of War, though by the way he stalls his forces waiting for a better strategy to present itself, you would think he's afraid of battle. You would think that someone more deserving would take Ash's mantle from him, but the disfavored have this cult of personality built around their great general. In their eyes, he can do no wrong. And what about Ash's connection to his troops? Raven Ash protects his soldiers. Let me try again. Raven Ash protects. His soldiers keep harping on those words like they mean something. I don't deny that the disfavored can take a few extra lumps in the battlefield, but that only speaks to their thick-headedness. If anything, it's only true because his soldiers place that much trust in it. I've seen the power of suggestion do strangest things to people. Okay. Stranger than heal battlefield wounds? I don't think so. Suit yourself. I'm just putting it out there, and I don't want to see you coming up with any great explanation for a soldier who bounces back from killing wound. And who would you see take Ash's place? I would rather let the disfavored sort it out among themselves. Graven Ash is this aging figurehead of what should be a constantly changing role. The right soldier needs to grow a pair and kill the old man. Kick his cane out from under him. Remind the Legion that what strength looks like. The voices of Narat changes. He's a multifaceted gem, and the Scarlet Course is a reflection of that beauty. If someone could rise up and strike down the voices, any vest would follow them in a heartbeat. And I suppose you have a better idea of how to handle the disfavored forces? Of course I do. First, I'd stop babying the troops. Pain is a lesson best learned early. I'd conscript from the locals to bolster the front lines, because why waste our elite on the vanguard? Then, I'd leave any misplaced ethics back in the Northern Empire. They're not helping Kairos' campaign anyway, so fuck them. Excellent, you would make them more like the Scarlet Course. That be so wrong? The Course is accountable for itself in ways that the disfavored aren't. Our weak die, and the strong fight to keep their rank. The disfavored promote their waning bloodline, and discipline any soldier with the audacity to show their teeth. Though they'd never admit it, the disfavored need the Course to show them the way. Alright, I see you're very passionate about this. Back to my questions about the disfavored. If we must. Do you think the disfavored have any chance to succeed in the tiers? Speaking as one of the exceptions, most of the tiersmen are pushovers. The people of Stalwart seem capable enough, though I have my doubts. You might call them the disfavored's best challenge. Even if they succeeded, it might be too late to redeem themselves. The Course have already impacted the conquest more than the disfavored have, or likely ever will. What are your thoughts on their battle strategies? They've really got something with the phalanx maneuver, a formation built on holding still, moving forward slowly, and hoping that no one slips in the mud. At best, the disfavored are tired of using the same tactic over and over again. At worst, the enemy knows what to expect out of them. Scarlet Furies are dancers. We hear the music of battle and organize ourselves into works of killing art. Every fight is as hot and passionate as the last, with no room for stale routine. Let me ask you about something else. If we must. How is it that you picked up your fallen sister's weapon skills? That's been on my mind for some time, and I still don't have an explanation that fits. I have a few ideas, but... Verse frowns in deep thought. Scarlet Furies share a sort of link. It's how we coordinate our dance in the heat of battle. We don't pass messages or anything, but our emotions and intentions sync up without words. She starts worrying one of her knives. After a moment, she sighs and slaps the blade back into its sheath. Go on. The one thing I always knew was that I felt this connection more keenly than my sisters did. I could pick up nuances that they missed, and I could feel them from farther away. When my sisters died, I felt each of them getting yanked out of my brain like someone pulling snails from a garden. But some of their slime residue is still there. Does that make any sense? You should exploit this skill to its fullest potential. Skill? Not sure if I'd call it that. There's something parasitic about it, but I take your point. If there's an advantage to this thing I'm experiencing, I'm not above using it against our foes. No matter how you paint it, some part of my sisters broke off of me when they died, and now I'm left to deal with it. Just another day in the tears, right? I mean, it can't be worse than my voice acting. What do you think of those who defy Kairos' authority? The Tearsmen can either fight or submit to Kairos' peace, and only one of those options captures my interest. I suppose I appreciate when they go down fighting. If they did otherwise, I would need to find another excuse to flay them. It could be, but I don't think it is. My heart. They need to understand, whether we unify the Tears under a shared banner or at the bottom of a mass grave makes little difference to you, me, or Kairos. Did you fight in any notable battles? I spent some time in Azure toward the end of the war. Beastmen ripped my unit apart. We thought they might be working under Cairn's orders, but we never found out for sure. And that's an interesting view of the conquest. It's a pragmatic one, anyway. The Scarlet Chorus caught on to the idea at the beginning of the campaign. If no one objects that we're here to carve a bloody path for gain and amusement, then by all accounts, that is our purpose. Besides, unification is such a vague concept that Kairos allows the disfavored and the Chorus to interpret it as they will. The Overlord is concerned with results. I'm happy to focus on the details, especially if that means cutting off a farmer's legs while his family watches their land burn. She smiles at a pleasing memory. I guess there's no shame in taking pleasure in your work. No, there isn't. Fatebinder, I suspect that we're going to make something great together. A line of bodies stretching as far as the old walls. It's going to be beautiful. She looks at you with renewed interest. Let's change the subject. By all means, let's. You learned a thing or two about fighting in the Scarlet Course. Care to duel?
That would be an understatement, and I thought you'd never ask. Since you're obviously at a huge disadvantage, I'll let you pick our weapon of choice.
Okay. On second thought, let's fight another time. I want to survive this day.
Feel free to draw iron or bronze anytime. I'll be ready.
Feel free to draw iron or bronze anytime. I'll be ready. That was my attempt at imitation. Alright. Are you a spy for the Voices of Nerat? Verse regards you with an unreadable expression. Her mismatched eyes look at each of yours in turn. I was, and to be perfectly fair, I think I'd be more or less transparent about it, but that doesn't change anything about why I chose to travel with you. If I didn't want to, I'd just leave. What did the Voices want to know? He never told me. He just said to keep an eye on you, but there was an implication that I'd have an opportunity to report in, as if I would have. More likely he would have stolen my mind and learned everything I knew, just to make sure I didn't leave anything out. So if you have any reservations about my discretion, keep that in mind. I never trusted you, and this only confirms my suspicions. If it's such a big deal for you, then drop me off the nearest occupied spire and send me on my way. I'd rather find something useful to do than see your hurt expression every time I check that you're still alive. We'll talk again later. Okay. I got a reputation ability. How's that work? Death from above. Alien and Verse, so it's a combo ability. Launch Verse into the air, allowing her to unleash a series of well-aimed arrows into the target from above. Each of these arrows strikes true and has armor penetration. Okay. Let's save. Talk her some more.
At your service, Fatebinder.
Verse bows with an added flourish.
What do you need? That would be an understatement, and I thought you'd never ask.
Let's try
Since
to
you're
rule the
obviously at a
knives.
huge disadvantage, I'll let you pick our weapon. Exotic. Good choice. I'll leave you to guess which one is my dominant hand.
Verse slashes and parries with unrestrained ferocity. At times, it becomes difficult to follow her movements. After taking more than a few cuts, you learn to relax your eyes and better follow the subtle motion of her dance.
You held your own. Call me impressed. Need anything else, or did I tire you out?
I guess we'll talk again later. Oh, that didn't go how I thought it would. Okay, Aurora. Did I talk to you already? I think I talked to you already. Uh-oh. Ugh. Fatebinder. Aurora salutes as you approach. We are honored by your presence. Need something? What's the situation here in Vendrian's Well? The Oathbreakers hold the citadel at the heart of the valley, the one built around the base of the spire. Aurora points east toward the tower in the distance. The Matani River has been our largest headache during the siege. It's unsafe for armored troops to ford, save for at key locations, and the enemy knows this as well as we do. I know we'd be a lot farther along if the Scarlet Course used its alleged strength in numbers to ford the river themselves and overwhelm the enemy. Aurora looks at Verse with a disapproving air. As it is, we must take the valley slowly and advance the disfavored bulwark, since that's where the real work gets done. Because all it takes is numbers to cross the river under a hail of arrows. If the disfavored were quicker to act, maybe the Vendrian Guard wouldn't be so trained up to face us. Verse has a point. There's been a lack of cooperation here. On both sides, I assure you. And we get nowhere by bickering over the failings of past battles. How long have you been with the disfavored? 7 years. She pauses to count on her fingers. 2 seasons, mayhaps a handful of days. I trained at Fort Resolution a bit before the conquest. Compared to the commanders you find around camp or stationed at Ironhearth, that makes me one of the young bloods. This has been a long and grueling campaign, but the end is in sight. We'll soon have the Oathbreakers back under our control. Then we can rest, retrain, and even cycle out troops so we can see our families again. What can you tell me about the Vendrian Guard? They're the last gasp of the Younger Realms. Among them are warriors that escaped the bastard city siege, a few refugees from other victories, and a bunch of Vendrian locals with delusions of independence. Younger Realms. The Realms of Azure, Apex, Stalwart, and Haven are collectively known as the Younger Realms, and together they represent the major political factions of the tiers. For centuries, the Younger Realms have battled amongst themselves for control of the tiers, with every realm having been at war with each other at some point in a memorable history. These southern wastrels cannot match our iron, nor the Course's numbers. What on Tyranny gave them the nerve to rise up and ask for a second helping of battle is anyone's guess. Maybe they know something you don't. Have you seen anything interesting during the war? I once saw a forge-bound artisan set himself on fire. Occupational hazard. That was an unpleasant day, the first of many, to be honest. I heard about the edict you proclaimed at the burning library, but thankfully I wasn't there. One fire was enough for me. Edict. Kairos' most powerful magic is that of the Edict, commandments cast upon whole regions that can control and destroy man and nature alike. Once cast, an edict can rain fire, wither crops, demoralize cities, usher in endless night, or do whatever it is that Kairos envisioned. No known force, magical or mundane, can stop an edict. Why doesn't he just make, like, edicts obey me? Done. It has to be some sort of limitation. It's either... It has to be some sort of limitation to the edicts. Okay. Carry on.
Can't do that. Can't do that.
Can't do that. Just...
Sorry, I can't.
Your fast mode? There's fast mode.
Sorry, I can't.
Oh man. Alright. How many people are there to talk to here? Cosma. Is this a woman? Is this a woman? I think it's a man. Fatebinder, what an honor to have one of Tunon's court visit our humble holdfast. Need supplies? It's a her. Whatever, she's keeping the same voice. Bursting with energy, the merchant slams her palm down on the top of the crate. If so, you've come to the right place. So, what will it be today? She spreads out a welcoming arm over her wares. How's trade? Well, this is a service posting, no profit up here in the pass. That's Harkian Bronze's orders. But when we march out of the valley, I'm back on my own schedule. And here's to hoping this year is a good one. The Overlord forbids the extortion of the pathways. Good thing, too, cause in years past I'd lose most of my profits to tolls. Couldn't turn a copper if I tried to haul a long distance. I trust you've been granted proper stewardship of the goods you are peddling. Well, you see, Fatebinder. The merchant cranes her head to the side, scratching her neck. I think so. I've been handed these bits of scripts. She reaches across a stack of provisions to snatch a scroll case. But I'm not a woman of letters. Numbers are my strength, as you can well imagine. Let me see those. Certainly, good Fatebinder. She hands you the scroll case while wearing a quizzical expression. A cursory read indicates this merchant is granted the unlimited right to trade in logistical capacity. When not supporting an active battle, she has the right to trade again, copper and olives anywhere in the tiers. Where did you get these? Harchian Bronze acquired these on my behalf from Archon Tunon's agents, I believe. Her expression shows deep concern. Do you see any issue? Well, it looks like we have a slight problem here. A problem? But how can that be? I paid a span's profit for the stewardship. What sort of problem is there? You have the right to trade as part of active war efforts. Currently, it would seem our armies are unable or unwilling to fight. Do you see the problem? Oh, I see the problem. Her eyes narrow and her hand slides towards the strings of copper along her waist. Let's skip some steps in this dance, shall we? She holds up a hand with a string of copper rings dangling from her fingers. A donation to the court. Call it a proper fine. Call it a tribute to our protection. Just call off your game if you say yes. That'll do. That's the most honest extortion I've suffered all year. She drops a string of copper rings in your hand, clenching her fist the moment she lets go. Now, if you don't mind, we're through. She waves her hand towards the gate. Safe journey. Uh-oh. Shove off. Take your trade elsewhere. I guess I don't get to buy from her anymore. I wonder if I missed out on anything. Drastus. The prisoner says his name is Tarkus Demos. Drastus lets out a long sigh, tapping his gauntleted finger to his temple. Then I don't think this is a complicated matter. He dies. His family's been a driving force in the Vendrian Guard. Killing him should demoralize whatever's left of the Tarkus clan. We must give the vanquished enemy a chance to serve. That is our law. Smiling with recognition at your presence, the chanter points your way. Just ask the governor here. You understand the wisdom of the Scarlet Course? The Overlord does not wish to rule over a ruined crater. We must conquer, but if we show no mercy, we will have conquered a mountainous stretch of nothing. We'll let you take prisoners, but you can't control them. You send these conscripts out on patrol and they never return, defecting all over again. I can't let this nonsense strategy continue. Well, I insist this Oathbreaker be taken to the voices of Nerat, leaving us at an impasse. Fortunately, we have a Fatebinder here to settle the matter for us. The chanter turns to you, an expectant smile creeping across her face. It's a woman! Okay, whatever. So, what say you? What should become of this prisoner? The chorus should be allowed its chance to recruit new warriors. This is the sort of nonsense that got us into the mess we're in now. If we keep showing these mongrels mercy, they'll just bite us time and time again. If it will calm your nerves, I assure you this one won't be put on the battlefield. The mage snaps her fingers loudly, gesturing for her gang to listen. Make sure the prisoner is taken straight to the voices of Nerat. I won't keep you here any longer, Fatebinder. I know you have important business in the valley. Drastus salutes you, his iron gauntlet rapping against his breastplate. For the glory of Kairos. For the glory of Kairos. You have my thanks, Fatebinder. I must attend to the rest of my soldiers. What? Horde? Hail Kairos, and glory to the voices of the rat! The Scarlet Horse soldier nods at you, her brows furrowed in concentration. I take it you're the gopher everyone's talking about. Are you getting the lay of the ruins or just avoiding the Archons? We picked this area clean months ago. All that's left are some old stones and that prize off in the distance. She nods to the towering spire above the citadel. What do you want? Is that how you speak to a superior officer? It's how I speak to you. Only just arrived in camp and you think you know more about breaking a siege than the rest of us? She huffs and shakes her head. I'm going... Keep it up, Keep it up and you'll be crying blood like that. Keep it up and you'll be crying blood like that statue! She backs off with a panicked look in her eyes. Whoa there, I didn't mean nothing by it. Just testing to see if you had any spine. I can see you've got plenty. Tell me about these ruins. This place used to be an actual fort. When Cairn came through, the Archon of Stone pulled down most of the masonry with him. She spurts an impressive glob of phlegm. Not sure if it was intentional, but he left that old statue in one piece. It's carved in the likeness of old Queen Lycaris. She scratches the back of her head, smirking. Strangest thing, the statue started crying blood around the time of the war. I like to think we clobbered the Vendrian Guard so badly that their ancestors could feel it. Ha! What do you know about the spire? I know how to tell time by its shadow, and that it hurts my neck if I stare up at it for too long. Really, it's no different from the spires in the north. Big, ugly, and inaccessible. It's strange that the Vendrian people built their citadel around it, but there's no accounting for taste. Farewell. Be seeing you, Fatebinder. The side of her mouth jerks in a grin. So I can talk to the random peons too? Thanks for your help, Fatebinder. I took a spear to the side, but I can't even feel it. This is a woman. Fatebinder, a pleasure to have you join us. You never really know if one of Tunon's officers is battle-ready until the fighting breaks out. She nods with approval. You can clearly hold your own in a fight. A broad-shouldered, disfavored soldier stops to salute. And thank Kairos for that. There's been too much talk of late and not enough action. The Archon of War is planning his next move. Will you have him hasten his plans for your impatience? The superior officer glowers through the gap in her helm. Never, ma'am. Graven Ash protects us. Is this a woman too? She holds her salute with a tightly clenched fist. I'm eager to see the Vendrian Guard buried under their own patched defenses. Need something? Tell me about the disfavored. We are the proud elite of Kairos' military strength, selected from the finest northern stock and hammered against the anvil of war. Oh yeah, she's a woman. Should I change her voice? Nah, we're gonna pretend she's a man. If you want to put that in perspective, the disfavored are a sword, and forged with care, then polished and sharpened to perfection. She clears her throat. The Scarlet Chorus are more of a rusty pitchfork dredged out of a swamp, effective in large numbers, but easily outclassed. Graven Ash protects indeed. What have you survived? In my early days, I broke from my phalanx and ran at an enemy, received a spear in my guts for my efforts. I took the better part of an afternoon for the Archon's protection to patch me up. Learned a valuable lesson, too. When I was in Azure, I caught a hammer blow to the side of the head. All I remember is a ringing sound and feeling my skull shatter, from jawline to ear to top. I woke up hours later. The medic says there's a piece of helmet lodged in my brain. She draws herself up. My badge, my reminder. We owe it all to the great general. Wait, he gives us the strength to fight where others would flee and stand when others would fall. What a pile of dung. They're right about one thing. The disfavored have taken too many blows to the head. She scoffs and crosses her arms. You don't believe in Ash's protection? I believe in it all right, but I don't buy that he's doing anyone a favor. In war, death is a lesson. Survival is its own reward. If Ash protects his soldiers, the weakest of them occupy a space in the phalanx that could be put to better use. Graven Ash gives his soldiers the chance to improve, which is more than the voices of Narat allows. Off to an early start adjudicating the problems between our camps, are we? The voices of Narat doesn't give his soldiers anything but a purpose. He barely even feeds us. We take everything we want, including our advancement. Why hasn't the siege been resolved? It's because the Scarlet Corps scoffed at the Great General's plans, and they aren't carrying their weight. They should be using their great numbers to patrol and harass the enemy. If you ask me, I think they're intentionally going easy on the Oathbreakers. She grinds her fist into her palm. Was it the wrong one? Whatever. Don't shield. It was the wrong one. Even if they listen to us, are they even capable of following the orders? The Scarlet Corps doesn't have a chain of command, just rabble of gang bosses cutting each other's throats for advancement. Pissing on the disfavored is like a badge of honor. If you don't mind my saying so. As you were.